Hey, what's up, dude? How's it going? Hola, amigo, ¿cómo estás? Guten Tag, wie geht's dir? In today's video, I have a review for you of the Tier 8 Panther 2. It's a German medium tank. It's right after the Panther, the VK3002M, and it's right before the E50 and E50M on the German medium tech tree. There's a couple different medium lines that you can go down. The VK line through the Panther, Panther 2, or the 3001D through the Leopard 1. So the way I want to go about this is I want to talk about the components, which is like the guns and engines and that kind of junk. I want to go into the equipment and consumables, talk about the crew skills, how to play the tank, wrap it up with some strengths and weaknesses, and show you a couple different games. Now, as far as the components go, there's two different guns that you can really get for it. A Tier 8, well, both of them are level 8 guns or Tier 8 guns. One's a 75, one's an 88. The long and short of it is the 75's got a faster fire rate, better accuracy, better aiming time, but the 88's got better pen and better damage. Personally, I only use the 88 because I find myself bouncing all the time. Yes, you're gonna have to flank in this thing. If you've watched, spoiler alert right now, if you watch my VK3002M review, it's basically the exact same thing as that. The tanks, there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference between a tier 6, 7 with the Panther or 8 with this thing. Obviously, I haven't gotten to the E50, E50M yet, so I can't really comment on those. So, anyway, the only real difference, again, is that the pen and damage. I highly suggest the 88 because even though the 75 may be faster and you're going to be flanking with it, I still noticed a lot of bounces with that. You know, that could be anything from just the distance that you're flanking from, the angles, and just sometimes unlucky shots. I really personally feel like the extra 5 millimeters does something for me, and I know that every time I hit with it, it's doing more damage. Maybe it's just my imagination or whatever. But and the other thing is, if you are in a top tier game, if you are a tier 8 in a tier 8 game, you know, you're gonna want the extra pen because you can actually do a little bit more, you know, head-to-head fighting than you can with the 75. As far as the turrets go, there's not a whole heck of a lot to say about these. The only difference is actually 5 kilograms. The upgraded turret's 5 kilograms lighter, and 10 degrees or 10 meters better view range. That's it. No difference in armor, nothing. Engines, there's 2 engines for it, a level 7 or a tier 7 and a tier 8. Upgraded engine's got an extra 50 horsepower, but it also has roughly 350 extra kilograms to it. The tracks, the only real difference between the tracks is 4 degrees per second traverse speed, which is important, and you also increase your load limit by 3 tons. And I realize I'm going faster here, but it's because there's really not a whole heck of a lot to say about these components. And as far as the radio goes, you can put whatever radio you want in it, all the way up to the FUG 12. I just choose not to use the FUG 12. I use the FUG 7, as you can see, because I don't really want to spend the 43,000 for the upgraded radio. I don't have premium, so I don't really want to spend the credits on that. It takes me forever and a day to be able to get some credits, so I don't want to blow it on that stuff. Moving on the equipment and consumables, I always put improved vents in there. That's just like a no-brainer. As far as the other two equipment, as far as the other two equipment things that you could put in here, really depends on how you're going to use it. And again, spoiler alert, you're going to be flanking with it. So, and you're not. And the thing is, when you flank with this, you're not going to be speeding around and flanking. You're going to be sitting in a spot to try to flank. You're going to sit in the back for a little while, get over to, you know, the east or western flank, whatever, and sit there and take some shots. You're not going to really be, you know, zooming in there, flying on in there, taking a couple shots and flying back out like you would in, say, an AMX 1390 or something a little bit faster. You're going to want to get over to the side and just sit there and shoot. Use your accuracy, especially if you're using a 75. Use your accuracy and the speed of the reload to your advantage. You're going to be shooting from about 400 or 500 meters. So with that being said, you're going to want to use the binocs on there. Maybe camo net. That's, you know, up to you, or perhaps tank gun rammer. Any one of those three. I would not suggest the vert stab, nor would I suggest the coated optics, because those are basically going to be used if you were on the move, especially the vert stab. And frankly, this thing doesn't have any speed to it, so you're not going to be pretending like you're You're not going to be pretending like you're an AMX 1390 with this. Consumables, you know, your typical small repair kit, small first aid, and if you can afford it, an automatic fire extinguisher, because this thing does like to get lit up quite often. The engine does like to go on fire. As well as the ammo rack. This thing likes to get ammo rack quite a bit too. And again, this is no surprise. Not only if you've ever played these tanks, the VK 3002M Panther or Panther 2, but if you've just seen my 3002M review, again, I mean, look, there's the Tier 8 Panther 2, here's the Tier 6, which is basically like the Panther without the name, right? So tell me, what's the real difference there? I mean, obviously the guns are a little different, the speed of the tanks are a little different, hit points different, yada yada yada, but essentially there's no real difference between the tanks. Moving on to the crew skills, these things are pretty much personal preference, although I highly suggest for the commander that you always put on 6th Sense. I do have Mentor here, and this is before I knew better. So, you know, don't screw up like that, like I did. Put 6th Sense on these bad boys, because if you know that you've been spotted, you can always adjust your gameplay to, you know, maybe get back behind a rock, or if you haven't been spotted, to keep shooting, you know, whatever. It's so much more beneficial to know if you've been spotted rather than having the extra experience or extra whatever that you're doing. As far as the rest of them goes, I kind of just pick whatever. Radio operator, however, I do suggest that you take the situational awareness, because it's going to increase your view range, and every time you get your view range increased, the better off you are. And you can see here I'm working on my second perk. I have repairs for the gunner on my second perk, and I'm working towards camo too. But crew skills are pretty much personal preference, but again, I highly suggest 6th Sense on the commander and situational awareness on the radio operator. That's the long and short of that part. Let's talk about how to play this thing. Now, there's two different types of gameplay you're going to do with it. One, if you're the top tier, so it's a Tier 8 tank and you're in a Tier 8 game, or two, if you're bottom tier, so perhaps if you're in a Tier 9 game or a Tier 10 game, but you'll most likely find yourself in a lot of Tier 10 games with this thing. Just the way it is. So if you're top tier, you can brawl a little bit, but you're really not going to bounce a whole heck of a lot. And the big thing about brawling is you have to protect this lower plate. It's the exact same thing in the VK 3002M. It's the exact same thing with the Panther, and I can't comment on the E50 or E50M, but you have to protect this lower plate. You're going to get shot there. People are smart enough to know that you shoot through that, you're going to get some engine damage, you're going to get an ammo rack, probably going to get a fire on them. So you got to protect that thing. Stay 200 to 300 meters out and jiggle the tank. So, you know, to try to simulate it, pretend I'm in a game right now and I'm jiggling my tank back and forth. Someone's aiming at me. I'm using my A and D keys, my left and right keys, to try to move the tank side to side to try to create a bad angle so he can't shoot. My opponent can't shoot straight onto it. He's got a little bit of an angle either way. You might cause a little bit more bounces that way. Don't be surprised if you don't, but it does help a little bit. And that's pretty much all you got to, all the say that's on that. As if you're a bottom tier tank, so you're in a tier 10 game, you really have to keep your distance. I'm talking 400 to 500 meters here. Go to opposite of where your allies are going. If all your allies are going, now when I say that, if all your allies are going to the west, or say you're on the western flank or whatever, and all your allies are going to the extreme left, or the extreme west, go west with them, but maybe take like a different route on the inside, so everybody's looking to the extreme west, but you're just on the inside a little bit. I'll demonstrate that in one of my gameplays when I'm in a tier 10 game. You'll understand what I mean with that. But kind of, go along with the pack so you're not off in no man's land by yourself, but try to keep a little bit of distance so that you're not immediately in their mind, if that makes sense. And essentially, it's all about lucky shots. You gotta take whatever shots you can get, and you gotta hide. Pop out, take a shot, get back. Don't try to brawl with it, especially in your tier 10 game. You're gonna brawl with it. You're gonna be wasting a lot of money because this thing's gonna get lit up. You're gonna get ammo racked, and with the weak guns on it, you're not gonna be doing a whole heck of a lot of damage. You have to have to flank, and that goes for both sorts of games. Whether you're top tier or not, you have to flank for the most part. That's where you're gonna have your best games. Can you get top guns and rally Walters medals and stuff like that with this? Sure. You know what? If you play a lot of it, if you play it a long time and you get real good with it, and it's just your tank, sure you can do that, but it's not gonna. You're gonna need some experience and some skill to play this thing effectively. I would not recommend going down this line if you're just a new player to the game. Do something a little bit different. If you, as much as I love the German tanks, it's a difficult tank to play. All of these ones, the Panther, the VK. I don't know about the E50 again, E50M, but all of these tanks are very difficult to play. Same thing with the VK 3001P. If you try to go down the mouse line, those are also difficult. But I don't know what else to tell you. I'm trying to help you out here. Don't shoot the messenger. Finally, the wrap up in the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths of this thing, obviously the gun. It's got a fast gun. It's got an accurate gun. The German guns are fast and accurate. Even with the 88, you are shooting a little bit slower and everything. You're shooting 8 rounds compared to I think almost 15, but yeah, 14.29. So you're shooting a little bit slower, but you still have a decent accuracy. 2.7 aiming time. It's not bad. Accuracy at 100 meters, 0.34. Not horrible. The accuracy at with a 75 is 0.32. So it's not horrible. You got to use that to your advantage. The weaknesses is basically everything else. Sorry. Lower plate sucks. This thing loves to go on fire. It loves to get ammo racked. It's slow. They nerfed the frickin' engine in this thing. This thing was slow to begin with, and then they go and nerf the engine. It's got poor traverse. It's got 36 degrees per second traverse, but between that and the engine, this thing it doesn't have any giddy up. It doesn't go anywhere fast. And again, the guns are pretty weak. You only got 203 pen, 240 damage. It'd be nice if the guns had a little bit more power to them, but what can you say? And then I guess the hit points, 1500 hit points, which is pretty much par for the course. 53 tons, 700 horsepower, 55 kilometers per hour speed limit. You'll get that going downhill. If you try to go uphill, good luck. 36 degrees per second of traverse, 100 hull armor, 120 turret, and that's not much. You're going to get pinned. And 390 view range, which is par for the course. So that's pretty much it. The long and short of it. Wish I had a lot more better things to say about these tanks, because I was really looking forward to playing the Panther 2, all these things when I first started playing the game, and to say I'm disappointed is an understatement. But I don't know what else to say than that. So with that, let's get into some games. Okay, in our first game, it's our tier A game. It's Port Standard Battle, and I'm going to work the eastern flank here. I like to hang out on the east on this one, especially with the medium or whatnot. I don't like to really brawl where all the heavies are. I suppose I could play, or if you had a medium tank, you could play here somewhat in the middle and kind of play as a rover, and maybe perhaps go help out on the flank on the heavies over on the west there, and help out with whatever tanks are on the east. Typically, there's usually medium tanks on the east or tank destroyers, but not necessarily heavies. The problem with doing that though is, well, not so much on this map, but in general, when you sit in the middle, you get shot from more sides. You get shot from the left, center, and from the right. Whereas if you're on just one side, you can only get shot from 2 sides, generally speaking. So what I'm doing up here is I get up, break the wall, and just try to get whatever shots into the flanks, or whatever lucky shots I can take. Although I did say it's a tier 8 game. Technically there are 1 tier 9 on each team, but it's only 1 tier 9, so it's essentially a tier 8 game. So I'm sitting back a little bit, trying to use these bushes for cover, and essentially take whatever shots I can get, and try to keep most of my tank covered from the train here. Now you can see I got lucky there and bounced a shot from that Panther 2, although we've been trading shots back and forth. He's knocking me around a little bit. I'm knocking him around a little bit. But I can't sit there and do that all day since he had one shot up on me to begin with. So I know that I'm gonna end up losing that fight if we keep going back and forth like that. So I back off because I can't trade shots with him, and I end up getting a lucky bounce from the 1390, and I get one into him. And right here, what I'm basically doing is just trying to angle my armor as well as possible, protect most of my tank from with the train here from the flank. And then, of course, again, take whatever lucky shots or whatever flank shots or whatever I get, whenever I can do some damage, you know, try to do it. You really don't want to wait with this thing. And the other thing is the ammo in this tank is relatively cheap, so you know, don't be afraid to shoot, even if you don't necessarily have a shot or if you need to get lucky or something like that. See, I've missed quite a few shots now, and with snapshots and all that kind of stuff, but the ammo's cheap. And this is a Panther 2 gold mine right here. It's when they're not paying attention to you. You're gonna see that right here. This other Panther 2 wants to get the kill shot on the SG-152, but we make him pay for it. The Luva and I. He's gone. I'm trying to keep that. See, I gotta keep that one section of brick wall there so that the T-69 can't put any shots in, because if he does that, I'm really gonna be in a world of pain. And no matter, see, even with the 1390, no matter how I try to angle my tank, I'm not bouncing anything. I got 2 lucky bounces so far the entire game. And the Luva here is putting all the work in, helping me out. And now I'm already down at 56 health. This thing, you can get chewed up real quickly and real easily with it. For some reason, I don't know what the T-69 wasn't paying attention. Now I'm going to capitalize on it. Nor was the IS there. He wasn't paying attention either. So I guess another way to put it is you don't want to be the brunt of the enemy's attack. You can take a couple shots and everything, but you really want them to focus on somebody else. You want them to shoot at, you know, like they were the SU-152. Yeah, SU-152, they were shooting at him. They were shooting at the Luva. You don't want to be their main target, because if you are, you're not going to survive very long. And that's how you essentially play this game, play this tank in the tanks like this. I mean, you can get up and brawl a little bit more, but you still gotta play smart. You still have to try to minimize as many shots as possible. You won't bounce. You know, you won't bounce these things like a Jagd Tiger would, like the Luva would, like a T-34, T-32, even like that the WZ-132. That guy's gonna bounce more stuff than I will. So with that, let's get into the tier 10 game. Okay, so here's our tier 10 game. We got Pearl River Standard Battle, and this is going to be the one where I show you what I mean by, you know, hanging out with your buddies, going along the same flank as them, but still staying kind of off in the distance on your own. Let me speed it up here to get to the action. The one thing I do want to point out is you can get up to your 55 kilometers per hour, as you can see right here. Now, as I was saying, in these kind of games, you want to stay back. This is what I'm trying to do here. I'm letting everybody be in front of me, be all the nice big targets for everybody else to shoot at, and hopefully not me. The thing on this map in Pearl River is usually inside of the city area where this T-32 is. You can get some decent flank shots, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Get some shots in on these guys. So I take one, get one in the T-32 because it's a, you know, target of opportunity. KV-44, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Try to get one on him, and then I shoot this next one and bounce. So that's what I mean. You know, 5 millimeters of pen. When you're talking about 198 compared to 203, 5 millimeters doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot, but it just seems like to me it makes a difference. But again, it's probably just totally in my mind. But here's what I'm talking about when you kind of just go off on your own. Want to try to get a good. Hold on one sec. Oh, come on. I'll try it again in a second here. Try to get a good pause on it. Oh, in any event, you can see everybody sitting here, all the teammates and all that, are up on this, I don't know, upper level here, getting shot at. Well, that's where all these guys are looking here. The T-57 I was just shooting at, or the T-54 I think it was that I was just shooting at, or the T-57, one or the other. I was just shooting at them, and you can see his gun, which is what I wanted to show you. His gun was pointed over here. And that's what a lot of these guys will do. So I'm not clumped in with this big huge group of buddies, because if I was, then I would be, you know, they had their guns here, and even if they missed a shot, I could get hit inadvertently or whatever. So what I do is I take this inside route, which is what this T-69 does along with me. Take this inside route and I start shooting up at them from here. And that way they weren't looking at me, they weren't really paying that much attention to me, and yet I could still get a few shots in on them. And that's what I mean by trying to flank and try to go along with them. You know, I'm not out in the middle of nowhere, so that if I needed help, I could get it. In theory, anyway. I could get the help. But I'm still not directly behind one of those dudes or whatever, so that they're paying attention to me. And here's what I'm saying. You go up a hill or whatever, you're not going to get a whole lot of speed. Going about 15 kilometers per hour up the hill. Man, my throat's killing me from all this talking. You really wouldn't figure it'd make that much of a difference, but it does. So here's where I get lucky. I thought that Ferb was going to blast me right there, but apparently he decided to shoot at somebody else. So what I'm thinking here is I'm trying to use my speed to my advantage, because this thing can get some decent speed, but it's got to go in a straight line. You start turning it, you're gonna kill your speed. And right there is what kills me. See, what I was going to do is I was going to keep my speed, fly through here, get alongside of that fur net, but because I got hit there, he knows I'm coming, and you see I'm back in my view out, and I'm looking for his gun. You see his gun's pointing, waiting for me. I'm not stupid, I'm not going to drive up in front of it, and I let someone else get the kill. But the idea was to keep my speed, get through that little town or city, or through those buildings there, and use my speed to be able to fly in front of him, so he didn't have enough time to react. But, you know, I hit the building, and that was the end of that. So basically all I could do there was just sit and let him get shot by somebody else. And here's another good teaching point with artillery. When the artillery, see, he's not pointing at me yet. Now I can see he's starting to point at me, so I turn my tank straight towards him and try to keep it towards the outside a little bit. I don't know if you've ever played artillery, but I have. And if you're shooting artillery and you're shooting someone that's basically straight in front of you, the crosshair isn't a circle, or the landing area, or whatever you want to call it, isn't a circle. It's more of an elliptical. I think that's the technical geometric shape or whatever, ellipsis or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, if I'm going sideways to him, it gives him a bigger target. If I go straight, he's got to basically get that ellipsis or whatever it's called right onto me. So what I want to do there again is not turn too much. I want to try to keep my speed as much as possible, not lose speed because I'm turning my tank, and yet I want to point my tank at him so that I have as minimal surface area for him to shoot at as possible, and then just hope I get lucky. And then here finally I got a little ticked off because everybody looks the cap when we're just blowing the team away, like such large numbers. Nice bouncer up to E100, such large numbers, you know, 14 to 4. You know, we got 4 tanks dead. They have everybody dead except for 1. What's the point in doing that kind of stuff? So that's the let me pause it. that's the Panther 2 review. Again, it's a decent tank, but you got to really know what you're doing. It's not an overpowered tank by any means. It's not the kind of a tank that you can just sit in it and think that I got Top Gun this game, or I'm gonna do 4,000 damage, or whatever. That's just not the way the tank is, unfortunately. And it's fun. You get that little bit of, hey, I'm playing the tank from World War II, that kind of feeling about it and everything. But again, it just leaves a lot to be desired. So hopefully the E50 and the E50M have a little bit something more to them than what these tanks have. But in any event, I hope you guys have learned something from this. I hope you liked the review. I hope you found it helpful. If you think it is helpful, or if you drive the Panther 2 or the Panther and you think I'm on point, post it. Let me know down in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And other players would appreciate it too, because it's one thing just to hear me say, oh, you know, yada yada yada. But if other people are coming in, or if you come down there and you say, yeah, I drive the Panther 2 and I think you're right on this, or I think you're wrong on that, helps everybody become a better, you know, game player in general, better teammate, and just know the capacities and the capabilities of this tank. So again, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate all the likes, favorites, and comments that you've been doing for me. It means a lot. And again, please like, comment, favorite, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed for a lot more World of Tanks content. And I will see you at the next one, man. Take care.